Yesterday, the Chicago Bulls jumped up from the number 9 spot, 5 spots up to number 4, and they will have the number 4th overall pick in the 2026 draft to go along with pick number 15. This is the exact type of break this franchise needed. You hire Bryson Graham, you give him the keys to the front office, you talk about taking no shortcuts, patience, player development, and building the right way, and then boom. The lottery gods decide to hand him the number 4 overall pick. The good vibes are riding high right now in Chicago. And with that, in the 14th pick, the question is how much can actually change about the Chicago Bulls this offseason? How much could this accelerate the rebuild for the Chicago Bulls? My answer to that may surprise you guys a little bit, but we're going to talk about the flexibility that the number 4 overall pick gives to the Chicago Bulls and where it is that the Washington Wizards are interested in trading down. We can talk about all that plus more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number 1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Darryn Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. The Chicago Bulls beat the odds. They entered the lottery at number 9 with a 20.3% chance to move into the top 4, and the Bulls landed the number 4th pick overall. Now, there are some Bulls fans that aren't actually all that excited about landing the number 4 overall pick, and to me, I don't understand how can you not be excited about it. Sure, you didn't land at number 1 or number 2, and the 4th overall pick for the Chicago Bulls, let's just be clear, it doesn't have the best history when it all comes down to, right? Marcus Fizer was the number 4 overall pick. Tyrese Thomas was the number 4 overall pick. Patrick Williams was the number 4 overall pick. But I think the difference is now is that if you trust Bryson Graham and his eye for talent, I think that things are going to be much better for the Chicago Bulls when it all comes down to it. But they got to go out there. They got to prove it. And Bryson Graham has a big decision to make with him for himself and for this franchise to start up. This was the biggest jump of any team in the lottery. The biggest jump the Chicago Bulls saw with that. Washington, Utah, Memphis, and Chicago do make up the top 4 teams in this one. And this is the first major big break of the Chicago Bulls era under Bryson Graham. And now we get to see what Bryson Graham is going to do with that. Now, I want to start off talking about this, right? Like, let's talk about the draft lottery. You have Washington Wizards at number 1, the Utah Jazz at number 2, the Memphis Grizzlies at number 3, and the Chicago Bulls there at number 4, right? It came out yesterday. This is speculation, so it's not like it's a huge report, but it did come out yesterday that maybe the Washington Wizards are interested in trading down from the number 1 overall pick, mainly due to them adding 2 former All-Stars in Anthony Davis and Trae Young. They already have a plethora of young talent there when it comes down to it. So could the Bulls be that team? Could they be that team? And this comes from Jake Fisher of the Athletic, I believe. Is that where Jake Fisher of the Stein line, not the Athletic, of the Stein line, where he says this in regards to Washington Wizards. He said, Danny Ainge says, we're open. We'll always listen. Well, that's the Utah Jazz. And then as far as the Washington Wizards, is that they aren't necessarily sold on that. Washington Wizards president Michael Wagner confirmed Sunday that the franchise will consider trading down from number 1 overall in the NBA draft. And Jazz president Danny Ainge said the Jazz are also open to moving back from the 2nd round selection. So, with that said, there's a legitimate conversation and question from Bulls fans if the Bulls can move up and what will it take. And my thought process on that may not be the same as what a lot of people are. I know, moving into the top 2, I would love to be able to get AJ Dybantsa to this team. I would love to be able to get Darryn Peterson to this team. And the thing is that Bryson Graham has to weigh the risk versus the reward of possibly trading up with the Washington Wizards to get that number 1 overall pick, right? So if they're saying that they'll take number 4, number 15 in this draft, would you do it? I would not. And the reason why is that I think that the players that are projected to go in the top 4 are all franchise-altering talents. Now, do I think AJ Dybantsa and Darryn Peterson have separated themselves? Yes. Some Bulls fans don't even want Darryn Peterson because of the attitude and some of the reports around that, and I understand that, right? I'm looking at it strictly basketball. I would want Darryn Peterson on the team. He's a two-way player. He gives effort. And even, if there was something going on with that talk around him sitting as much as he did in college, I'm willing to deal with that because of the talent that's there. Right. So I want to be clear on that. I am willing to deal with that because of the talent that is there. But at the end of the day, I still think more bites of the apple is the best thing for the Chicago Bulls team. You have the chance to add a Caleb Wilson or a Cam Boozer and go out you and get a Christian Nick Jr., maybe even an Ade Mar. I don't think he's going to fall there at number 5, but you have the chance to do that. I think with this Bulls team, I'm more apt to take the shot at the talent, right? And to take the bites at the apple with how far the Bulls are. Now, that doesn't mean that that's going to be Bryson Graham's mindset. Bryson Graham could absolutely look at it, and if he see AJ Dybantsa as the player that he wants to build this franchise around, and he sees him turning into an absolute superstar at the league, if he views that, then he goes out there and aggressively gets that guy with trading 2 first-round picks to get it done, I'm not going to be mad at that either, right? I'm just saying with my thought process would be in there. There is a chance to trade up in this draft, more so than I thought, right? The Utah Jazz and the Washington Wizards getting number 1 and number 2, and the plethora of talent that they already have on the team, specifically Utah Jazz. But, maybe that opens up the door to get that done. Now, let's say that if it takes your own first this year and maybe putting some protections on the first in the future, because like the Utah Jazz are only moving down 2 spots. Like, I don't think you're going to get 15 to go along with that, maybe, right, in this draft. So we'll see, right? But I want to throw this one to you guys in regards to this. The Bulls got the number 4th overall pick, a chance to add a franchise-altering talent at number 4. But with the 2 teams that are at number 1 and number 2 being there, both willing to trade back, is that a legit, like, would you take that shot at it? And again, I don't think there's any wrong answers. If you guys are willing to take this shot at it, I understand it, right? I think I'm looking at it from a roster building perspective and take as many bites at the apple as possible. But you own all your first round picks. If you're not giving up any of those and it takes 1st and 15 this year, it's not like you're giving up, a huge amount to get that done. But, we'll see what happens in there. As far as trading back, though, I do want to talk about that. The trading back aspect of it, I don't know if I would do that. Even if you do, like, let's say, and we'll talk about the guys the Bulls could draft, but even if you do think that Keaton Wagler is the best in that, would you trade back for that? Or just draft him and just pull it? Like, if you know he's going to be on the board for a fact, you've done your due diligence, you know for a fact that you can trade back to 6, 7 and get Keaton Wagler, and that's your guy, then yeah, do that as long as you are for sure on it. But there's just always a risk in there when you open up the door to some other things. So let me know what you guys would do in regards to that. But this is the luck seeming like it's finally starting to turn for Chicago, right? The Bulls fans have been through a decade plus of frustration with, some brief glimpses in there, right? Like, of course, you had that second year under AK, the first year DeMar and Lonzo being here, where the Bulls are number 1 team in the East, and it felt like we were really progressing and moving towards something. But it felt like the first step in really turning the luck for the Bulls was moving on from the prior front office. Moving on from Acme brought good karma to this team, right? And then you hired Bryson Graham, and it created real excitement for this team. And then you got the Portland pick, right? Let's not overlook that you got the Portland pick when at a point in time, I think Portland Trailblazers had like a 5% chance to make the playoffs. I'm rounding up. That may not be the exact number, but they ended up making the playoffs. You get that Portland pick. That also adds to your luck. And then you land the number 4 overall pick, which gives the Bulls premium draft opportunity and equity in that, right? For the first time in a long while, it really does feel like things are starting to line up possibly for the Chicago Bulls to take a considerable move forward with their franchise to be different. It feels like that is coming for this Bulls team. And the hope in the process is at that point in time that they just continue, that this luck continues, right? But luck only matters as much as that you make it matter, right? So what do you do with the luck that you have been given, right? Now, you have to make the most of this opportunity. If you waste this, all the luck in the world didn't matter if you end up wasting this opportunity. You cannot do that. And that's what I think it has to happen here for the Chicago Bulls team, is you have to take advantage of this and strike, right? I've talked a lot about it. I said this under Acme, how important it is to really hit on all your first round picks, right? It is hugely in there. And now with Bryson Graham being here, I'll say this, it comes down to even more than hitting on your first round picks. It's finding value at every possible draft pick and selection that you have. And that is what's up next for the Chicago Bulls team. And can they get it done and can they do it? We're going to see. But you seem like you have the right guy. When you saw Bryson Graham and his excitement of the Chicago Bulls getting this draft pick to say, hey, we got lucky. Even goes on to say, like, hey, yeah, while it does seem like you may know who's in the top 4 here, we got to do our due diligence. And that is such an amazing place to be in, because you have somebody that he isn't just going to take the option that you expect on the surface level, right? He's not just going to take – the Bulls are going to meet with a lot of players. They're going to interview a lot of players. They're going to work out a lot of players. Bryson Graham is going to do everything at his disposal to make sure that with this 4th overall pick, they are making the right decision to add the right talent to this team. I have no doubts about Bryson Graham and his ability to do that, right? And so now we get to move forward into of competency, right? That is the thing that this Bulls team has been missing for so long. We have lacked competency at the highest levels of this. Now let's go out here and get it done. Now let's go out here and make make the most sense. That's what we have to do here for the Chicago Bulls. And let's see if they can do that, man. Let's see if the Bulls can go out there and get it done and they can make it happen with this team and they can make things work out because the luck seems to be turning for the Chicago Bulls. But with that said, right, let's move on from that. Let's talk about the players that the Bulls could draft at number 4, right? Now, of course, we all know that the players that makes the most sense. AJ Dybantsa, Darryn Peterson, Cam Boozer, Caleb Wilson. These are the big names here for the Chicago Bulls at number 4. Which one of these guys fall to number 4? AJ Dybantsa, as he reaches number 4, I would be convinced that not only do the Bulls have luck, but they are actively paying off people or threatening people's lives. They have Michael Reinsdorf decided to make some calls and have some people's families held hostage if AJ Dybantsa falls to number 4 for the Chicago Bulls. You look at the long-term talent here for AJ Dybantsa, the upside that he has as an offensive wing that still can defend multiple spots, all that type of stuff. A high-end on-ball creator is what he's able to do, all that type of stuff. We've talked so glowingly about AJ Dybantsa. Y'all already know how I feel about AJ. Darryn Peterson, I think, immediately addressed the need for extra shot creation for the Chicago Bulls as well, right? I think when you look at more switchable, a two-way player in regards to that one, 6'5", scoring guard that has a huge wingspan when it comes down to it, there is elite all-star level upside from Darryn Peterson. And I'm just talking to basketball. Of course, there are things outside of basketball that people have questions and concerns about with Darryn Peterson. You can never take away from that, right? But there's what it comes down to. I think at the end of the day, the medical history is going to make a big difference for him, and how much he works out at this draft combine is going to be a really big thing there. But this is a tough guard who puts pressure on the rim, who can shoot. He brings playmaking ability on ball as well, can be really good off ball if those medicals clear. And people, when he has the personality interview, he passes that. He's probably going to be the number 2 overall pick. Cam Boozer is my least favorite player in this top 4. I've been very consistent about that. He is my least favorite player in this top 4. And not just because, the lack of athleticism is one thing. I do think he has basketball IQ. He's a really active defender. I worry about the lateral quickness and how that's going to work out when it comes down to that one. He brings defense. He brings solid decision-making. He's a really good three-point shooter, kind of the modern-day forward. He can be an offensive hub. The question I come about with him is that how is he going to adjust to more consistent athleticism he's going to be facing? And then also, how much would that lateral quickness affect him in his switchability on the defensive side of the ball? There are no medical red flags about for him. He's one of the youngest prospects in the top 4, which means there's still a lot that he can continue to develop on as well. And I think at the end of the day, the upside's there for him to be a perennial all-star. We all know that, right? And so Cam Boozer is the next guy there. And then Caleb Wilson, right? I think this is kind of the more realistic target here at number 4 for the Chicago Bulls. Kind of everybody, he fits the slap moniker when it comes down to it. He's a 4 at the next level for me, which means you can move Modest to the 3. And his lack of three-point shooting, I think, early on isn't going to make as much difference because he'll have a guy like Josh Giddey creating for him around the rim. We know what he can do in the mid-range. That three-point shooting, he's shown flashes of that. You get him working. It'd be nice to still have Peter Patton here. You get him working with the NBA shooting coach. I think that there's enough there that shooting form can turn into a non-negative. I don't think he has to turn into a high-volume three-point shooter. If he can, great. But I think overall with that is that, if he ends up coming down and turning into a decent three-point shooter, it really works. From kind of the same things we talked about Modest with. The defensive upside for him is huge, right? He has that Pascal Siakam type upside, I think is a really good way for you to look at him as a two-way player in the league. And some people I've seen say that Caleb Wilson is whack, and that's just not the reality of it. Now, you can say that you have some issues with Caleb Wilson in his game because all these guys have holes in their game, and I'm not going to act like he's a perfect prospect, but missing the final month of the season with a broken right thumb and a broken left hand, may raise some concerns in that, but those are the type of injuries you make 100% recovery from, so it is what it is there. But so those are the guys that are most commonly mocked to go to the top 4. But I don't think that Bryson Graham is going to stop there. Who are some of the players that Bryson Graham could, quote-unquote, reach for, right? And I think there's a number of those guys. I think Keaton Flemings is one, right, when it comes down to it. I do think when you look at it, a smallish guard, he brings some scoring upside as well. He can put pressure on the paint also. He has really good decision-making in transition, and his defense has been steadily improving, right? I think adding another young creator to this team makes a lot of sense for it. He's also a guy that can guard wings when it comes down to that part as well, right? And so people do question him in the half-court offense, but Kingston Flemings is a guy that, if you're talking about potential reaches at number 4, Kingston Fleming is one of those guys. Keaton Wagler is another one, right? Out of Illinois, this is a guy that you have to look at fit over flash, right? I think if all the big 4 are, if 3 out of the big 4 are gone and you have doubts about the one in the big 4 that's left there, I do think with the true size that Keaton Wagler has, the shooting gravity, his composure in big games when it comes down to it, his playmaking on ball has been really good as well. I think he has one of the best upsides as a pure scorer in this. He can also run the offense. We've seen him be able to do that. He has really good IQ on that side of the ball, and his defense improved every step of the way throughout college as well. One of the concerns is that he's not a hugely athletic player, but I think that everything else that he has, that quick first step, he does have a pop vertically as well, where he's not a below-the-rim player. I think that Keaton Wagler, if you're going to talk about players that you could reach on, got to be talked about there as well. And then Darius Acuff, right? This is a guy that, depending on who you're talking to, you may get a completely different view on who he is as a player. But there are a lot of Bulls fans that do have their propensity to like Darius Acuff. 6'3", 190 pounds. He's going to have to put on some weight at the next level, but this is a dynamic on-ball guard and a shot maker. The thing is that I don't see a world in which him and Josh Giddey fit together. And I'm not saying that as a negative to draft him. If you believe that Darius Acuff is the guy, you draft Darius Acuff and you figure out the rest later. The way that he gets downhill, how he creates in the pick and roll, right? The handle of, and how he understands how to already use the change of speed and the handle that he has with that one is really great when it comes down to it. And he's a guy that really competes, right? But there's some size, the physicality and the size there is something when it comes down to that one. But I think this guy is a confident score-first guard who can also put pressure, get downhill, pick and roll creation, all that type of stuff. I really like Darius Acuff. And if the Bulls are talking about players that are worth, again, reaching on, Darius Acuff has to be one of the names that is mentioned there as well. So those are the names. Let's see what Bryson Graham and how he evaluates with it. We're going to be getting a lot of draft information over the next week on what the Chicago Bulls are doing. And let's just see what happens in regards to that and what the Chicago Bulls decide on. But with that said, with the big news that we got, I want to dive a little bit into the mailbag. We got 2 voicemails that we're going to get into today. This one's from my brother Corn.
What's the word, King Drill? It's your brother Corn, man. I know it's been a while. Last time y'all heard from your brother, it's on some other shit. But you know what? I'm back. We good. So, what do we want to talk about? Let's just say, man, it looks like the tide is finally turning for us. You know, the firing of Acme, the stepping down, the hiring of Mr. Graham. And congratulations, brother. I love to see a brother. Love to see a brother right now doing what he's doing right now. Just getting the job. I know he ain't did shit, but just for him getting the job, congratulations to you, Mr. Graham. I was getting the 4th pick, brother. We're picking number 4, baby. It's like, what? What is the tide finally actually turning for us Bulls fans, man? Like, for real. So now the next thing is coach, of course. This is going to be a fun offseason, and I can't wait. I've been watching all your videos, and still watching all your videos. Locked on Bulls. I'm still locked the fuck in. Don't think, you know what I'm saying, just because I've been missing that I ain't still locked the fuck in, putting my thumbs in and subscribing to you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, doing my thing, King. But I'm just ecstatic. I'm ecstatic. I am finally excited again as a Bulls fan. It's like, whoa, the future is bright. Can't see what Mr. Graham do, how he gonna make his move, how his vision is going to mesh with everything, and hopefully we could be champions once again. Because that's the goal at the end of the day, right? that is the goal. So, hey man, Like I said, it's been a while. You brother, appreciate you. Love you. Man. We got the fourth pick. Y'all know who I want. Let's just hope he fall down to us. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna say no names yet. But y'all kind of know who I kind of been hitting for to get. He is the best scorer to me in college. And I'm just gonna leave that little hint there. But alright, King Drip, love you, bro. See you, Red. We here. We here, y'all. Let's go. Let's keep this shit going. Blessings, brother.
Is the Bulls' luck starting to change? I hope so, man. It really does seem like there is a chance of that happening, right? You get the 4th overall pick, you get the Portland pick, the hiring of Bryson Graham, all that type of stuff. Things are really looking up for the Chicago Bulls. Now, let's go out there as a franchise and let's make the most of it. That's all I can say. Let's make the most of it. Let's make it happen. And let's really start digging ourselves out of this hole and finding the direction as a franchise. If we can find a direction as a franchise, guess what? That's when things start looking up. And if Bryson Graham seems like the guy to do it, we still got to hire the coach. We still got to hire the GM. Let's go out there and get it done and see what Bryson Graham, because he has so many tools at his disposal now to improve this team. And I think that's really great when it comes down to it, right? And I think that's where the Bulls need to be at. All right, let's get into this next one, man. This one's from Josh.
Yo, what up, Haize, Chicago Bulls Central. This is Josh out in Arizona. I'm gonna make this one a quick one. Bulls got the number 4 pick. I'm excited. I'm pretty ecstatic about that. But the one question I have in mind, with the hire of Bryson Graham and what he said at the press conference of this rebuild being a slow process and going to take a couple years. My question is that since and now that it's confirmed that the Bulls have the number 4 pick and then also having a second pick in the first round, number 15 and whatnot, does this increase the pace at which we can get back to competitiveness in Chicago? Real simple. With the talent that's in the top 4, a Darryn Peterson, a Cameron Boozer, a Caleb Wilson, plus the guys that we already have, and maybe with some hiccups of some restricted free agents over the offseason, could this increase the speed at which the Bulls can make it back to competitive? And that's it. Thank you for listening to the call and everything you do with all the content. And be rare. Have a good one.
I think Bryson Graham did say they're going to take their time, but the question is how much does this accelerate the rebuild? Having pick number 4 and pick number 15. And here's what I'll say to that, Josh, is that it accelerates it. I don't think a lot in this first year, but how much the players who pick at number 4 and number 15 end up developing and how quickly they can prove themselves to be NBA players that you can build around or with, that's going to really change the direction. So while this first year is probably still going to go very much like how it would have went regardless, it starts, what is the blueprint that you see after this first year? And we're here and we're at this point next offseason. That's where you're going to start seeing, and I start seeing that, the Bulls are like, all right, bet where we are right now. Do we make all these, that we start going deeper towards the playoffs, or do we need another year of evaluation or something like that? But Bryson Graham, I think, is going to really let it really talk to him in regards to how this thing goes with this team, and I think that's the best route to go with it. So the rebuild timeline does change a little bit with this, but how those players end up playing, how they end up performing, what they end up turning into, that's going to be what really turns out for this team and impacts this young core and how well we go forward. So you saw the Detroit Pistons, for example, go from a 14-win team to 2 seasons later they're the number 1 team in the East, and they did that with having a number 1 overall pick in Cade Cunningham. Now with your own top 4 pick and what you already have here, can you have a turnaround like that? And in 2 years, are we talking about this Bulls team legitimately being one of the better teams in the East? Only time will tell. But Bryson Graham, it's up to him to bring that vision around for this Bulls team. And if he's the guy that can do it, I think we're going to see that very early on, and the Bulls are going to get this done. So things are looking up. Things are exciting. Bulls fans, have fun, rejoice, live in this, and let's see what we're going to do going forward, man. But this is an exciting time to be a Bulls fan. The content's going to be coming very fast over the course of this offseason. Nothing is fixed right now, but we have more tools to fix what we need to fix to become the team that we and the Bulls fans want to see this team become. And that's the part that's really exciting about being this. Bryson Graham now is the 14th pick. He has the number 15th pick. He has tons of cap space in regards to it. He has the chance to start shaping this roster in his image immediately. So the Bulls got luck. Now, let's go and make the right decisions with the opportunities that luck has afforded us. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as well, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode or an upload. You can follow us at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. bullscentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.